Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Streamed live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommie Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation. And I'm joined this morning by my good friend and brother,
Tommie Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, T. What's up, baby?
Hey, it's good to be here. It's a brisk, overcast day here in Southwest Ohio, but great to be here and welcome all of our guests and community members.
Absolutely. We are so thrilled to be back with you again on Diversity Conversations. Tommie and I have had a couple opportunities this week to golf, and so we're a little achy.
Yeah.
Because we got out there, we golfed the first time, 18 holes, and Tommie sent me a text about the second one. I was like, hold it, let me check in.
check the body.
See if I can move, you know.
Bio check.
Oh, man, but we had a ball and had a number of great shots and also some tragic shots. Isn't that what golf is, Tommie?
Yeah, it's ups and downs, Eric. You know, and I enjoy going out, one, first and foremost, because it's relaxing. However stressful it might be, we're competitors, but I wanted to really take advantage of a rare moment here in Southwest Ohio, where during this time of the year, end of December, it is typically frigid cold and snow. Right. And we had a moment where it was the opposite. That's almost. And so I took that as I do almost everything, as a sign, right? God provides us signals and signs to let us know that he's real.
I love that.
And one part of his realness is the world and earth that he has given us. We have a beautiful earth, a beautiful landscape. There are miracles across this world, not only in the U.S., but across the world. And so this moment last week was an opportunity for us to, say thank you to the world and life that God has given us, as well as to fellowship with one another and have some fun.
And I promise you, you know how they say football is about selling food, Uber Eats, that commercial. Tommie and I are also trying to recruit you all into the game of golf, because I'm going to say to you that golf in so many ways is like life. Tommie and I are out there with aches and pains. So life, that's what life comes with, aches and pains. A lot of joy and excitement before we start the round, when we're in the round. And Tommie, actually, for the most part, we hit good shots. Really, for the most part, we're hitting a lot of good shots, but then bad shots come as well. And isn't that how life is?
It sure is.
That life, you're having a good day, a good week, a good month, a good year, for the most part, but you're going to run into difficulties and things that are just going to come out of nowhere that can shock you, frustrate you, all of that. But the way golf is if you stay frustrated too long, your whole round's gone anytime.
Yeah. What I've learned about the analogy with life, Eric, as we talk about golf, is that we have to, fall back into our core principles or foundation or basics. And so in short, I had a great conversation with my son, Bryce, took him out to eat. We went to a restaurant, Cooper's Hawk, and he and I just chopped it up.
Okay.
And so had a great opportunity to ask him about his plan, his desires, his interests, and not to pass judgment on him at all, but to see where I can be of value. And then also got his reflection on situation in the house, his input on that, and he gave me his truth.
Okay.
And I'll say to the world, as my witness, but directed to my son, Bryce, I respect you, man. I respect what you said to me directly to my face. And because you said it to my face, Bryce, I'm a man of action. I execute plans. So as you were talking, I was putting together another plan, and I'm going to execute it. You can bank on it, right? And that's how I operate. So in the golf, we have to pivot, change. Man, I had shanked the ball with Bryce. He told me it's in the woods,
right,
and why it cannot be found. And I said,
I got that.
I got it.
Yeah, and we hear very good.
Yeah.
When you finally talk to us, we hear very good. I told you what I did when I heard something, right?
Yeah.
I said, I'm not even gonna get home.
Yeah.
I'm pulling over to Walmart, and I'm gonna make adjustments because of what you said. So I love that. I love that about Tommie and my relationship and our relationship with our family. And so right now, I'm going through something in my family, and it's just really powerful to embrace the different responses. I was a little sad this last week, and my middle son was able to console me, and it was just the sweetest thing in the world because he's not a real emotional kid, but he was like, Daddy, we good, we got you, we got you, we got you. And so I appreciate that. They're just, in life, you do not want to miss the difficult periods of time and the lessons that come from those times. I'm an optimist. I had just had a conversation a couple weeks ago with my brothers about sadness and how we never grew up really embracing sadness. But I can tell you that I believe that that's such an important emotion for us just to sit with at times. I'm not a person that's going to be sad all the time, but I enjoy sitting with sadness because it means it says something meant something to me.
Sure.
And then I kind of moved through it fairly quickly. But I was grateful for all the conversations that we had this week. I was grateful that we did Christmas my way in terms of not a whole lot of presents and fanfare around it. I was grateful for that because the commercialization of Christmas has really just worn me out. I've just gotten to the place, Tommie, and I love giving gifts, but I don't need anything. I don't want anybody to sweat about thinking about that. I want to say good morning to Brooke and Roger. We just thank you all so much for joining us each week. And we don't say that enough. I want to make sure, Tommie, we never have our community speak to us and we not speak back to you. So thank you both. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We love you.
Yeah, our community is something else, Eric.
Yeah.
These jokers show up every week.
Right.
Every week, chiming in, listening, sharing good word, adding a lot of valuable input, right, in our conversations, not just you and I, but when we have guests, things like that. Man, our community is something else. From around the world, we have folks in the Midwest, obviously East Coast and West Coast, across the seas. As Eric said, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Right. And I just had a brainstorm. Tommie and I will chop it up later to talk about it. But in the new year, I think I'd like to have at least a show where we bring all of our community favorites onto the screen. So Brooke, Roger, T, just a few people that are showing up on a regular. And we just have a community conversation together because you all are brilliant in your own right. You're thoughtful. And we'd like the rest of the world to see the people who we call friends.
And so with that being said, we always want to remind our community to like and subscribe. And so that we can stay in front of you when it pops up or at 9:30 Eastern time, etc. Like and subscribe. We do appreciate you.
You want to do our commercial too?
We'll throw to Lydia.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time Budgeting, an award-winning financial wellness firm helping employees transform their relationship with money. By focusing on mindset, behaviors, and simple systems, Game Time Budgeting helps people save more, reduce debt, and feel more confident about their finances without judgment or confusion. Learn more at GameTimeBudgeting.com and start playing offense with your finances.
It's great to be back. And this week, this is our last episode of 2025. Now we're closing out 7 years of Diversity Conversations, Eric. 7 years, north of 375 plus episodes. And whatever episode number this is, we'll get the hard line. We're very, very honored to have Dr. Littisha A. Bates with us. She's the Senior Associate Dean for Strategic Initiatives and Academic Affairs at the University of Cincinnati's College of Arts and Sciences. Let's welcome Dr. Bates.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Standing ovation before she even opens her mouth. Woo!
Right. And
Good morning. I'm well. How are you all this morning?
Doing great. Doing great.
I'm happy to be here.
Background.
Yeah. Good representation.
B5B, I see you. All right. Can you tell us a little bit more about you besides what we see?
Yeah. So I am a little Black girl from the South Side of Chicago.
Okay.
I rep my set. Though I haven't lived in Chicago for most of my adult life, growing up there has really developed who I am and how I understand the work that I do, given the communities that I grew up in the city of Chicago. I'm a sociologist. I study education. I think deeply and constantly about equity and what we need to do to move our communities forward. Probably most importantly, I am a mom and a wife. I have 3 amazing children. One who is graduating high school and is going to leave me, so I've been mourning that for a bit here. And I also have an amazing husband who I like a lot. And I think the like is underrated, so I always try to reinforce that. Who I like a lot. I just love people. I love taking care of people. I love getting work done that moves our community forward. And so I'm excited to be here to engage in this conversation with you all today.
And let me just go a little deeper with that, because I think it's so important in today's world. People just feel like, I've got a son. I love this about my children. I got 4 children. One of them feels like the world just started when he got here.
Yeah.
It just began when he got here. Okay. And so I just agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth. And so what we would like you to do is to also share a little bit about the people and events that have brought you to who you are today.
Yeah. So I'll start back at the city of Chicago, right? And so my story begins as a little Black girl born in the beginning of my life in the projects on the South Side of Chicago, projects that no longer exist, Washington Home Projects. Yep. It's not one of the most famous projects, but it is right across the street from Cabrini Green, which is one that folks know when you talk about the projects in the city of Chicago. Having grown up with both my maternal and my paternal grandmother living in buildings right next to each other. Born to a teenage mother. My mother gave birth to me a couple weeks after her 16th birthday. And really sort of navigating my way through what it means to come from such a beginning to where I am now. And the parts of my community that shaped my identity, right? I ride hard for Chicago, 1, because it is a magnificent place, but 2, what I remember of it growing up does not match what folks outside of our community understand it to be. I say often, I grew up in the South Shore area once the projects were eliminated. And I never felt unsafe in my neighborhood, right? That's not to suggest that there was not a crime problem, that there was not a gang problem, that there was not a drug epidemic happening in the late 80s, early 90s, because it absolutely was. But there was something about the code of ethics of the street at that time, and the community. And I was one of the smart kids, right? And so the dope boys took care of the smart kids because they understood that we had a future outside of our community, and they valued that. And so much of those early lessons.
Hold on. Could you say that again, girl? You can't just blow past that. Okay. You know, that's what we do here sometimes. We have to slow the picture frame down. You said something so profound that's never been said that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You said the dope boys, huh? Say that again.
I mean, they understood and they valued those of us who were young people who were smart, who had dreams and aspirations. And so it wasn't this sort of like, they want everybody to be in the streets. Now, again, I don't want to sort of over romanticize it to say like they weren't recruiting young people to be right. That was a thing.
Right.
But I think that there was a different code of the streets, right? That allowed those of us who were interested in flourishing in those communities to be able to flourish in a way that I'm not sure still exists today, which is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But so much of those experiences shape who I am. So much of watching my mother work hard, so much of participating in the raising of my younger siblings, so much of my we don't say step in my family, but how folks understand family dynamics. My stepfather coming in and providing financial stability for our family, and the role that he played in my life. Just so much of my early upbringing shapes how I understand the importance of the work that I do today. And so it's always a part of who I am. And I'm Chi-Town down, like.
Through and through. My old stomping ground was 87th and State.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know what time it is.
Yeah.
And so when you think about your development with that Chicago, Illinois lens, and so Chicago, for those who are less familiar, a big city, has very different parts and segments and sides, if you will, but it is more or less like the Mecca of the world, believe it or not. Not even more so than New York City or LA. It is Chicago, Illinois, because of the Great Migration, both north and south, right? As well as where if folks migrating or immigrating from around the world were not coming into Ellis Island, they were coming to Chicago. So from the Italians to the Dutch to the Polish. So that's why you have different cuisines in Chicago. Polish sausages, right? We got Roscoe's, we got chicken and waffles, things like that. But can you tell us a little bit more, and where you are now, a little bit more about with your upbringing and your experiences, how does that influence your interactions with your students, peers, and the work that you do?
Yeah, so when I started in higher ed in 2009, one of the things I was committed to was ensuring that little Black girls in particular, but also little Black kids who come from places like I come from, who say ask instead of ask, right? That they understand that there is space for them in the academy, that there's space for them in higher ed. I remember being an undergraduate at my undergraduate institution, shout out to Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, and only ever having 2 Black professors in my entire time. One of which was an adjunct, which I didn't understand what that meant at the time. But at this big age now, I understand that he was like a peripheral temporary worker. And so I decided right away that it was important for me to be who I am in front of the classroom. And so when I teach, any student that has ever had me, I talk how I talk, right? I don't change that. I don't try to mask who I am, because I believe it's important for students to understand you can be where you're from and also you can be intellectual. Those two things are not diametrically opposed, right? And so call me doctor for sure, right? And I'm still going to be who I am. I'm not going to code switch in this kind of way that's expected of faculty when they enter into the classroom. You're going to get this African-American vernacular English that has a great Southern bent that sounds like Chicago, but also sounds like Clarksdale, Mississippi, and where my family is from. And I'm not going to change that. And I've been quite intentional over the years to not change that, and to figure out how to navigate these academic spaces in a way that paves for more folks like me to come in behind me later. And I think that it's made a difference for my students, and not just my Black students, though I think it has had an impact on my Black students because they're able to see themselves, particularly those who come from communities like the one that I come from, but also for my white students, particularly my white students who have never interacted with Black folks before, right? They have this thing in their mind, they don't know what to think, and then they see me. And it completely sort of breaks the sound barrier of what they thought they knew, right? But in a really good way. And so I've just tried to be very intentional about being me. This profession doesn't get to change me because I'm good, because I'm me.
Let me ask you this. I'm gonna push back just a little bit, and I'm gonna push back. I was looking for the quote actually before the show because I just heard Michelle Obama, who's your homegirl.
Yes, she is. We went to the same elementary school.
Okay, and she talks about the freedom that she walks in now, and she said something like, "So I've arrived at a level that I'm now free to say what I want to say." But then she did caution that if you're in a place that is not as accepting of that, then you might have to make some adjustments in order to hold on to that job.
Yeah.
Where's the balancing line between I love and certainly celebrate your own individual empowerment, the example that sets for young people, but unfortunately, many of them, if they take that to its end, that may be a limiting factor for them as they're trying to navigate this world and workplace that's already looking to hold them back.
Yeah.
Where do you see sort of the balancing line there?
Yeah, no, Eric, that's good. And so I think there are a couple things I would say about that. And I think I'll start first with higher education, particularly those of us that are faculty. This is one of the beauties of the security of having tenure, right? And so let's be very clear. When I talk about operating in our authentic selves, I often remind people, maybe you can't do what I do, and don't say I told you to do it because I can't pay your bills if you lose your job, okay? Let me be clear about that at the outset. Yeah. But one of the beautiful things about higher ed, at least in its prior inception, hopefully it continues to go this way, is that there are very clear standards about what we have to do in order to maintain our job security, particularly those of us that are in research positions that are moving towards tenure, right? And because those edicts are quite clear, you do that and you get tenure. Right. And then once you get tenure, it's sort of that other side of that freedom that my forever first lady was talking about. Right. The other thing that I will say is it took me some time to figure out how to balance it in the way that I am balancing it now. As the kids would say, I used to crash out much more easily until I realized that that didn't serve me or the people around me. Right. And so I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by amazing women. Shout out to Dr. Karen Bankston. If you ever hear her talk about me, she'll call me Dr. TT. That's sort of a prior iteration of me. Okay. Right? But I learned how to manage that. And I think often what happens, particularly to Black folks, is we think that if we don't show up a certain way that we're selling out or we're being inauthentic. Right. Yep. No, you get to be authentic, but you have to use wisdom and when and where to deploy what tactics.
Right. I want to jump in here and say something. I'm going to say it about me and Tommie. I'm going to kick it back to you to build on.
Yep.
So for what I'm hearing you say is that if you prepare yourself, you can get to a place where you are so confident and strong in your ability that it gives you a freedom to be more of your authentic self. And for me, that feels like it presumes that I build this resource that I've been given, that I'm a good steward over that in such a way that I don't have to be blown to and fro by every foolish wind that comes my way. You still use wisdom to navigate this world, but you get a lot more freedom and independence if you prepared yourself to get the job done. Tommie and I feel like that as entrepreneurs, that because we are entrepreneurs, we're business people, we are free. We laugh about that. Sometimes we just say that putt when we go, that's good, man. You're a CEO. Let's just go. and we just play with it like that. But we also know that we have to make some adjustments depending on the clients that we're working with. But I'm hearing from you a strength that comes from being prepared and knowing who you are.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to over romanticize it, right? Because the truth of the matter is there are still barriers, right? There are still some days, particularly over this last year, where I sat and cried in my office as we were fighting and lost the fight of SB1, right? And so I don't want to, for the listeners, I don't want to pretend like this is easy. I don't want to pretend like every day I feel like, man, I showed up as my best self. No, some days I fail. Some days I enter into a room of conversations with higher ups at the institution, and I can't quite find my voice in the way that I want to find it, and I mourn that later. But I use those moments as teaching tools, as moments to come back to when I get the opportunity again, right? And so again, I don't want to pretend like, oh, this is just easy and you just show up and you just do it. No, it is really hard. It is really difficult. It requires a lot of soul searching, and it's a lot of failure that happens as a result of that. But I want to be clear. I don't think that failure is negative. I think that failure builds character, right? On those days when I don't quite get my voice out the way I want to in those rooms, it builds a muscle. I remember how I feel in that moment, and I know I don't want to feel that again. So then I game plan with my board of directors about how I'm going to not hit that moment again, right? I use those moments to build muscle memory and to teach me about how I wish I would have shown up, right? But those are moments, right? And so for me, it's more about the character of who you are. You're not defined by those small moments.
Right. So your freedom is palatable. And you referred to this a couple of times around higher education. What is happening to higher education now?
Where do I start, Tommie? How much time we got?
We got an extended version of the conversation today. Come on now, sis.
And so I think that I will start with, there's a misunderstanding of what higher education is for the larger population. And I think that there is a concerted effort to further muddy and confuse people about what it is. And I think that that is quite intentional, because an educated populace is a dangerous populace, because an educated populace can critically think for themselves, right? And so there is a strategic decisions being made, right, to quell any kind of critical thinking. I love this line that folks use about indoctrination, and that indoctrination is happening in higher ed. As somebody who cannot get my students to read the syllabus, I want you to tell me how I'm indoctrinating them, right? They don't even read the syllabus.
You wish you could indoctrinate them.
I wish I could indoctrinate them, right? My work would be so much easier if I could just indoctrinate them. I say this thing to my students. My goal is never to just get you to agree with me. My goal is to get you to think critically about what I'm saying and decide how you feel about it, right? And that, to me, is what higher education should be. But as we see these sort of changes in the sociopolitical context that we're living in, we're going to see more of that go away. And we're watching it happen in real time. I can't give a student a bad grade on a paper because they've not done the assignment if they say Jesus in the paper, right? I believe in Jesus. I am a Christ follower. And if somebody turns in the paper talking to me about Jesus, and I've asked them to talk to me about school structure and systems, they're probably going to get a failing grade unless they can say to me what Jesus said about school systems and structures, and it aligns with the academic discourse that we're having and the required content. But in this moment, it's super difficult to be in a classroom. In full transparency, because I am in my administrative capacity, I am not in the classroom. I am quite conflicted about not being in the classroom in this moment. Parts of me is like, "Ooh, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus." Right? And the other parts of me are like, man, I wonder if I could be doing something that can make a difference in the classroom in this moment. But what is happening is these scare tactics are making faculty afraid. They're making our graduate students afraid to teach to text, to teach to critical thinking, to teach to ideas that expand our intellectual capacities because we've labeled them as divisive.
Right. And so I'm gonna jump in here just for a second. And there's no absolutes, even though my ADD mind will sometimes, in search of sensationalism, will act as though there are. I would say to you that we are in a reflection moment. I would say to you that we must climb higher and dream bigger. I believe that we have sat around and in many ways we've rested on the public institutions that we could push them in a way that we could get our stuff done through those. That has now come to an abrupt halt for this moment. But I think that what we've got to do, I was seeing myself when you were talking earlier, like that painting that Gilbert Young putting down his hand to reach for the other hand. That's where we've got to go, Dr. Bates, is we've got to begin to climb higher and dream bigger around how we can educate our own selves, how we can create that, how we can take the lessons of DEI that we were trying to teach corporate America to buy into. We've got to buy into those things and begin to utilize our power, our talent, our skill and ability to make more things happen for each other, because we don't want to ever find ourselves in a place again where we're depending so heavily on the government to be right that we are caught flat-footed. And I think right now that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I'm challenged here, Eric, because what I have experienced being an adjunct professor at a historically Black college university, juxtaposed with Dr. Bates's experience, real life experience, I've witnessed and I've been a part of faculty senates, administration, and then faculty at one point performatively supporting one another. Right? And now today, with this onslaught of whatever, creating anxiety and fear in even the faculty, how do we then continue the mission of higher education when we're stricken by fear, where even the embodiment of division comes up? It's like, I really don't support Black faculty union or whatever. I really don't do it. And so tactically and practically, how do we still harness the mission of higher education and reach students who are almost being polarized in the institution of a university, right, of higher learning? How do we practically answer this dilemma?
Yeah, I think that there are two things I'll say, and I'll start with the faculty side of it. I think one of the things that we're seeing in this moment, regardless of where faculty sit in terms of whether they are more right-leaning or left-leaning, we value faculty governance. And so it is sort of a wild mind bender to watch colleagues who I disagree with in almost every way imaginable, able to stand next to one another because the core tenets of academic freedom and the core tenets of faculty governance are being attacked, right? And so I think that is sort of in a silo, which is doing a little bit of a different thing than what we see sort of happening societally, right? And that is the privilege of higher education, is that we sort of exist in this little ecosystem. And so all faculty, regardless of what your political leanings are, they're going to fight to the death to preserve academic freedom. with the caveat of unless they believe what the change is benefits them.
Absolutely.
And so I think we are in a moment where colleagues across both aisles are gravely concerned about academic freedom, particularly because what is being considered divisive because it's more, quote, left-leaning, is potentially going to be used against them if they utilize conversation and rhetoric, if there are more left-leaning students and they're more right-leaning classrooms, if that makes sense, right? And so I think that there's something different happening in the academy. I don't want to overstate it, but I do think that there's something different happening as it relates to faculty. As it relates to the students, I have watched with such pride the way in which our students at the University of Cincinnati have rallied to reject what is happening, from changes in bathroom signage to the demolition of some of their most loved programs, and watch them put those programs on themselves, right? And so with the advent of SB1, we no longer have our African American Cultural and Resource Center, which means along with that, a number of Afrocentric programs that were carried out by the institution. They're no longer doing that, but the kids are all right. Because our students have rallied. They had our beginning of the year, it's called Akawaba, which is like a student resource fair that shows off Greek life, Black Greek life, that shows off all the resources for Black students. And the staff could not help with that. The students did it, and they did not miss a beat, right? And so I think as it relates to sort of our future, I can't say I'm not concerned, but I think that this generation of children, of young people, this generation of young adults, they have done what they are supposed to do, and they will continue. They will not be silenced. They will not be told what to do. They will march to the beat of their own drum. And I think the role for those of us who have raised them is to stand behind them and to advise them, right? Is to let them stand out front, right? This is our SNCC generation. And I am watching them, and I am proud, and I am happy to support them. I'm happy to spend hours talking to them. When I can, I write them checks, right? And so I think that we are in a moment that is going to backfire on the people who
no doubt. Absolutely.
Fired up, and they are ready to go.
Right.
I'm going to double down on what Dr. Bates said. And it's coming from a sociologist, a population, a person who understands populations. This is our current SNCC generation. That the generation couple to 3 generations prior, when we were somewhat lost and not certain who the quote unquote leader would be. It's not one leader. The power has always been in students and the youth, right? That freedom. And what I hear from Dr. Bates is that we can bridge the gap between those who are within power and free, right? And those who are seeking freedom or redefining what the reality is, not really accepting what it is. I do not accept this bigotry. I do not accept this racism. I do not accept this sexism. I do not accept it. You know what? We're going to create our own social construct, and we're going to define it. So you can say we're going to take away diversity or equity or inclusion.
Right.
But we never really subscribed to that anyway, this generation, because we were raised in an eclectic and social construct.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
And so, that was your generation that named that. So death to DEI, because wait till we show up.
It was performative anyway.
Wait till we show up. This is fantastic.
Right. And that's what I was talking about when I say we have to climb higher, dream bigger, because we got to just go get it. And I like what you were saying, Dr. Bates, about standing behind and being the support systems, for this generation. And I wrote a song called It's in Your Head.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the dreams that we have, the aspirations that we have, our generation has, it's in the heads of the young people that are coming on right now.
Yeah. And it's all that they know, right? Like, so thinking about sort of how folks before us had to work to make sure people understood DEI, this is what they live. That is all that they know, right? And so basically you're telling them that their existence has to shift. And they're like, wait, hold on a minute. What you mean? This all I know, right? Thinking about generations of young people who all they've ever known is, I got white friends, I got Latino friends, right? I have Christian friends, I have Muslim friends, right? They don't know anything different, right? And so to tell them that they have to shift their reality, they can't make sense of that. They won't make sense of it. And so it's our job to be supporting cast. One of my greatest fears is staying too long. It's holding the microphone too long, right? And I think for those of us who are, at the stage that we are in, is we have to understand when to pivot to them. I understand technology, but I'm smart enough to know that there's a lot that I don't know about how they get their activism done via technology. And so I have to stand back. I can tell them what I think about the ways in which they're going to approach things. It's my job to make sure they understand the rules, right? You're going to have a protest. Let me make sure you understand the rules of the protest.
Right.
And so I have a role to play, but I am a supporting cast member in their movement. I don't have to be at the front. Actually, I think it's detrimental for me to be at the front because it's their reality that's being shaken in a different kind of way than my very own.
Let me sort of build on that. And so I love what you just said, because it speaks of a level of character that says that I don't need to be in the front. And I would say to you that in Cincinnati, I've been longing for, and some people might take offense to this, I thought that Cincinnati's in need of some greater pastors. And there's a young pastor now at Christ Emmanuel, David Goins, in his 30s, who's now the pastor there. And I think he's going to be able to get people to believe in church again. Yeah. And I love that. But what I would say is that you said stay too long. I think that you should be staying till the end.
Yeah.
But it's the role that you play. And
that's
so because they need us, they need to counsel, and we actually don't need to have our generation's voice be the whole thing or their generation's voice be the whole thing. We really need each other. And we need the kind of development and relationship and counsel and love that we've not seen in a long time. Yeah. And I think that that's, where do you think our spirituality, our faith in God, what role has that played in your life as a leader? And what are you seeing in the young people?
Baby, I wouldn't be nowhere without Jesus. And so for me, I think it is deeply personal, right? I am very clear that I do the work that I do because I have clarity that it is my calling from Christ Jesus, right? To do the work that I do, which is why I believe I've been successful, because I'm walking the calling that he called me to. I'm doing so with him at the forefront of everything that I do. Shout out to Bishop Bobby Hilton, Word of Deliverance, the first church we ever joined when we moved here in the Cincinnati area. Shout out to my current pastor, Pastor Mike Scruggs, Pastor Light of the World Church. I think that Jesus is my center, and I get why people don't believe it, don't want to fool with it, don't like it, particularly in this moment of Christian nationalism. I get it. I am not offended when people be like, how? Because I get it.
Right.
I get it. I am watching people say that they value Christ in taking away food from small children. I am watching people say that they profess Christ as their savior and support someone who probably couldn't cite a scripture. I'm trying to be careful about my words in this moment. Probably couldn't cite a scripture or tell you the last time he went to a service that was not a public service for the PR campaign, right? And so I get it. I understand it. And what I would say to those people is, those are not my Christ Christians, right? They don't represent the God that I serve, right? The God that I serve cares about the least of these. And that's what drives me. That's what drew me to Pastor Mike Scruggs and Light of the World Church, right? We care about people. We're not just preaching that God will save you. We're giving you tips on what you can do, because faith without works is dead. Catch Light of the World at the shelter. Catch Light of the World giving out gas. Catch Light of the World at the Black-owned grocery store giving out groceries, right? That is what young people need to see. They are not just drawing on to theology, they're drawing on to works. And houses of worship that are not doing works are going to find themselves dead behind this generation, right? And so what are we doing to serve people? What are we doing to care for people, right? My mission and my goal is to be the hands and the feet of Christ. And if I'm not doing that, what am I even doing? Like, what am I even doing? What are we doing any of this for? And so I think that the problem that people are having is folks are misrepresenting Jesus. They're misrepresenting the Bible. They're choosing to take scripture out of context. They are using exegesis to scare people into believing the fire and brimstone, right? But they're not thinking about Jesus came and died, and so the Old Testament is Old Testament, right? There are lessons there, but that's not all he left us. So I think that we have to be grounded in something, and that's for me and my house. Right. We are grounded in Christ Jesus, being led by our amazing Pastor Mike Scruggs, my amazing husband. And so I feel lucky that I get to do work that gives glory to God.
Let me ask you this. What is it that, because I want to ask another question, but is there an additional message that you want to deliver to our community? We've got people all around the world that are listening to the podcast, and you are powerful. Is there something that you want to deliver before our time runs out, that which we may not have thought of?
Yeah, I don't know that it's something that you all haven't thought of, but I think in this moment, I might tell people to grab onto hope and not let it go, because there's a strategic plan right now to make us feel dejected, to make us feel hopeless. And when you're hopeless, you're stuck. You can't move. And so I think the goal in this moment is to confuse us, to make us hopeless, to make us feel like there's no way forward. Oh my God, there's no more DEI. We're doomed. It's like, no. If they were easily able to dismantle DEI, that means we failed in what we were trying to do.
Yes.
And so we need to now pivot and figure out, okay, what was our goal? And what are the other ways to get to that goal, right? We have all of these crazy euphemisms that we use, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know why we're skinning cats, but since we're using that euphemism, there's more than one way to get equity, not equality, equity, right? Because those are different things. And the role that I play in moving us towards equity is different than the role that Tommie might play, than Eric might play, right? And so everybody doesn't have to be doing the same thing. We are all pieces of a puzzle. Do not get hopeless. That's the goal.
This is fantastic. I will share this before I ask my question, that your presence today, your folks, your people, your
on fire. They're on fire here now.
Chicago has shown up.
Right.
And keep showing up. Karen Henderson, she's shouting you out. Got other folks shouting you out. That your message goes beyond just the three of us speaking, of course. As you know this. So my question is, you alluded to this earlier, A question is, when young people or seasoned people are gravitating toward empty vessels, maybe even deception, when they themselves don't know that they're being pulled into this vortex of emptiness that is almost, my words, soulless.
Yeah.
We're believers, and we can see the deception. We can see the enemy. We can see with our third eye, as well as our physical eyes, right? How might we help our brethren who know not what they do, or they do know what they do?
Yeah. Tommie, that's a great question. And I think if I had the actual answer to that question, all of us would be out of a job.
Oh, no, you've got the answer.
I think, though, what I might say is who you're in community with matters. And I'm in community with lots of different people of different faiths, people who don't subscribe to faith.
Yeah.
And I learned something from all of those people. One of my closest friends, someone who I love dearly, identifies as an atheist. And I respect, right, her right to have that position. It doesn't impact, how we understand one another. And I learned so much from her. I think I get to be a better Christian because I can see and hear her point of view. And so I think what I might say is surround yourself with people, right? It sounds cliche, but surround yourself with diverse people. If I am only around people who are like me, I am in an echo chamber and I am not growing.
Yes.
I don't want to be in the echo chamber. I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. Because if I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm done.
Come on now.
Right?
She's preaching this morning.
And so I think it's about surrounding yourself with a diverse group of people who have a level of psychological safety to be like, girl, you crazy. That don't.
Yeah, right. They don't vibe. They don't mesh.
Right. And then you said, what? What?
Right.
These squirrels in your head made you think that was a good idea. Right? So I think that's what I would say. In this moment, regardless of whatever your political leanings or ideologies are, regardless of whatever your spiritual or religious ideologies are, you have to surround yourself around diverse people. Pause. I want to say very quickly, I am not suggesting that you subject yourself to harm. Right. Because you have to be careful about how we curate those communities. I am never going to subject myself to someone who I believe wants to harm me psychologically, emotionally, economically, spiritually. I'm never going to do that. And I want to experience diverse perspectives. If for nothing else, so I can understand how the other side thinks. My husband watches Fox News. I think he is crazy for watching Fox News. Very early in our relationship, I used to be like, boy, if you don't turn that stuff off. I get it now, though. And he was right. You have to hear what they're saying so you can try to understand from their point of view so that you can help clarify truth for them. But if you don't know what they're thinking or what they're saying or how they're approaching these issues, then you can't combat the false narrative.
Dr. Bates, here's so Tommie asked the question. You said if I had the answer that we all be out of business, but I think that you do have the answer. And in many ways, the answer is what you've embodied here this morning, is that we have felt the love of God come forth out of you. Oh. When you started talking about listening to others who you disagree with, all I felt out of that was not just the respect of them, but literally a love of them. Mm-hmm. And that powerful small thing is like an atom. And it's our only hope in this world is to not just be a Christian in title, but to seek to live that out. And all of your power, your intellect, your spirit, it comes forth through this screen around the world that God is using you as a vessel of love, And I can tell you that I would be honored to have my children be in a classroom that you're the teacher of. And Tommie and I just want to thank you this morning for being who you are, because you're a blessing. Because when you exist someplace with the love of God, that's not a political title.
Right.
That's a real action that says that I'm going to do the best I can to be a representative of my faith and of the God that I worship. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Y'all ain't gonna have me crying up on here. Replaying it.
That's what's up. Changing subjects just for a minute, and we'll get back to rounding third. How did your husband find you?
Right. Good question. He was searching hard.
Oh my goodness. So I guess it depends on which one of us you ask. But he's not here, so.
You got the mic today, right? You got the mic now.
I met my husband my freshman year of college at Icebreaker. So every year at Grand Valley, the MPHC hosts the first party of the year. And I'm sitting, so you can't tell, but I'm very tall. I'm 5'11" and a half. My husband is also quite tall. And as he tells it, he was just excited to see a tall girl he could dance with. He was tired of dancing with short girls. And my husband is from Detroit in his very Detroit way. He never asked me to dance. He walked over to me and he said, "You gonna dance with me?" Yeah. And I said, "Okay."
Right.
So I was supposed to slap this boy. I knew. He said, "You gonna dance with me?" And I said, "Okay."
Oh, Lord, right.
And that was September 2000. Okay. And here we are, and he is one of my greatest blessings. I could not do the work that I do. I have moved him from Michigan to Arizona to Ohio. I could not do the work that I do without my husband and his care, his leadership. They always say behind every strong man stands a good woman. I think beside every strong woman stands. And so I feel lucky that I get to stand beside him, that he gets to stand beside me. He is the bee's knees. I'm smitten all these years later.
I so appreciate you sharing that story. Dr. Bates, you and I have met before in person. You don't remember because you had an assignment during Dr. Karen Bankston's birthday party.
Oh, yes!
And so I was the gentleman dancing with Dr. Bankston, right? And I know your role there. And it reminded me very quickly of a incident that happened this morning. Mm-hmm. So I'm at the grocery store picking up our fruit and juices for our in-studio beverages, right? I'm at the grocery store, I'm pushing the cart, and there's another woman heading my way. We're going to kind of collide into each other. She sees me, I see her, African-American woman. And so I pause to allow her to go in front. Just go ahead. I actually gesture, go ahead. And she says, "No, go ahead." And I said, no, please, please go ahead. And she says, "I'm an alpha female, you go." I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And so
I'm not taking your charity.
And so in my mind, I was exhibiting chivalry and respect. In the dating scene, if I'm from Detroit, I'm coming in with the harpoon, right? That's Detroit brothers harpoon. Hey, you gonna dance with me?
Hunt.
Right? Hunt on the hunt. We're gonna throw our hands up. We right here, right? You know Detroit, right? But I said, man, I hope there's an opportunity for me to bring up this situation on the show. And now we're speaking to a very beautiful, intelligent, insightful, wise African-American PhD doctor. And she has a family, right? So my question here is, as as roles are ever evolving, I guess, right? How do you stay balanced with your professional accomplishments, responsibilities, and your human, maybe even spiritual balance at home as a wife and as a mother, right? How do you balance that?
Yeah. It comes back to my faith. God is a God of order. And I know y'all didn't bring me to talk about God today, but it's just, it's orchestrated.
We always do that.
We okay.
Yeah.
It comes back to my faith. I don't have to assert that I am an alpha female because I have a partner, right? My husband, it is a partnership. And everything that we do, what he does, what I do, it is all a family affair. Sometimes much to my children's chagrin because they get tired of getting dressed up and going to things. Yeah. But it is a family affair. We imagine what we are doing is legacy building, right? And so I think the sort of challenge that some folks bump up against is a misunderstanding of what it means to be in a partnership. People get stressed out when I say that my husband is the head of my household. And I say that I'm 10 toes down on that. And I'm not shy about that. I am intentionally public about it. And that works in my household. But also, my husband has shown himself worthy to be the head of the household, and he has not misused his mantle. And so what that means is we are a partnership, right? I'm not worried about what's going to happen in our home as a result of his leadership, because I know he's never going to make a decision without us being in concert about it. And so I think there are misunderstandings about what it means. There are men who misuse that language, again, misusing religion. And so I balance by making everything a family affair. My children understand the work that I do. I hope one day it informs the work that they do. Most of what I do to make my kids proud. If there's something that's going to put a black eye on the way that my children see me, I don't care what it pays. I'm not doing it. Because the most important thing to me is that they see me. The most important thing to their father is that they see what a healthy family and a healthy marriage is supposed to look like. Not perfect, healthy, thriving, thoughtful. And so I balance it by making everything a family affair. That is the way that I balance it. And sometimes we get off balance, right? Because I don't want to be like, oh, we're always on balance. Oh, no. Sometimes we get off balance, right? Sometimes tough decisions have to be made. But the goal is always honesty, transparency, balance, and order. That is how I balance it. And my husband doesn't diminish who I am. He understands his wife is a boss. And I think that's part of what the appeal is. Right. He wanted a boss. And so he got a boss. And so he doesn't try to silence my bossness. He works very hard to ensure that I can be at the highest levels possible. My husband knows the doctors, right? My husband knows the shoe sizes. My husband is a parent, right? And he does a lot of that work, which allows me to be able to do the work that I do, and we support each other mutually.
Let me bring up Herschel Daniels' long post. He said something here about the president, and I think this is powerful. We'll come back to it on another day. But I want to just reiterate something that you said. Dr. Bates, you said, I'm 10 toes down on the scripture around order within the family. But I think for you to be 10 toes down requires that the man read past that scripture to get to he loves his wife as Christ loved the church. When absolutely. You get to that, then you don't see any bossiness. You see one who went to the cross and died for us.
Yeah.
So that's the man's role, is not to be standing up talking about, hey, I'm making all these calls. No, it's to love you as Christ loved the church. And when you get at that level of love, that's something worth all of us being 10 toes down on the kind of structure that would make us a beautiful unit. I want you to close out. If you have any reaction to this comment, you can make that. But I want you to close out with, what do you get hope and inspiration in the future from? Certainly it's the young people that you were talking about, but even for yourself, what is the vision that you see for yourself in the future?
Oh man, I don't know, Eric.
I got something for you.
People keep asking me what's next. I saw a couple comments pop in about, how do you follow me? I don't have a public social media presence. I just do work that's important to me. And my husband is in business. He does marketing. He hates that. He's like, you need a website, you need a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just want to do my work and keep my head down. So what is my hope for myself? My hope for myself is that I'm able to continue to be useful, to be helpful, continue to encourage folks, continue to share ideas and thoughts that move us forward, continue to help build space for Black folks, for all folks of color, to continue to dismantle racism and respectability politics. They killed Dr. King in a suit, so they don't care what you're wearing. And so that's my hope for myself, to continue to create space for folks who want to join us in the movement for the America that our forefathers dreamt could be possible. For what sort of encourages me, it's things like this, right? It's the open dialogue, it's the pushing back, it's the questioning of tropes, it's the rereading of things, right? In the way in which we understand policy. It's the getting down to understanding how these policies impact us, right? And it's, so I guess it's continued education. It's continued learning and understanding. People perish for lack of knowledge, right? I am a lifelong learner, and that's what encourages me, is that we have a group of young folks that have taken this technology beast and are starting to couple it with education and intellectualism in a way that will benefit us. I get lost for hours in TikToks of young people telling us stories about history that are grounded in historical truths and mapping them onto the things that we see today. That's what gives me hope. In a really cheesy way, the children are our future.
Well, we cannot believe that you just exploded on our camera today and out into our community in a way that they'll still be making comments an hour after we off the show. But we want to thank you for saying yes to joining us today. You are somebody special. God is delighted at the life that you're leading and the witness that you're giving and the example that you're walking out in front of people. We really have been blessed to receive that today. Tommie, you want to say a final word and close us out?
Yeah, I would, again, just want to echo those sentiments. We had a superstar on today. Woo! Great way to end 2024 to give us hope right into the next year. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chassis felt in days when hope unborn had died.
Yep.
Our feet are still moving.
Yep.
Hope is still alive.
Yeah.
And Dr. Bates is one person to reckon with, a boss lady. If
boss, I liked how they rolled up the tongue.
You better
boss,
recognize.
Come on, boss.
We want to thank you all
for
joining
we celebrate
us
that.
every week, for joining us this week again for another Conversations in Diversity Conversations. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.